Hi there, Relaunching here, kitesurfing professor with the Kitesurfing Academy. Hey, have you ever found yourself in a situation where wind kind of died on you and your kite dropped from the sky and it may be sitting downwind from you, straight downwind, but it doesn't want to fly? It could be even more frustrating, especially if there are other people riding around you. Well, I have some good news for you. You don't have to get frustrated anymore about this situation. You don't have to end your kitesurfing session prematurely. You don't have to swim on shore. You don't have to walk back on shore. You can still get your kite up in the air. You can continue to ride. You can continue back on shore to the safety if need be. Because in this video, I'm going to share 2 little secrets with you that will help you get your kite airborne again. First secret is more of a theoretical one, so I'll explain. And the second secret is a more practical one, hands-on, so I'll show it to you. So you will understand, you will better understand what is happening, especially if you run into a situation when other people are riding around you, yet your kite is not even flying. It dropped down, it's sitting straight downwind from you in the middle of the power zone, sometimes with the leading edge up. This is not the place where the kite can be even parked. It should fly away from there. This is the most powerful place, yet your kite is not flying. So what's the secret? The phenomenon is called wind gradient. Basically, in a plain language, it's the phenomenon that wind is moving much faster. The air is moving much faster as you go higher. So much so, if you look at this chart, especially when we're talking about light wind conditions, you see kite is flying at about 70-75 feet up in the air. So this is the speed at that altitude. As we go down, let's go down to 10. Let's go down even to like the surface of the water, like 5 feet. You see, the difference in wind speed is almost 8 times. 8 times difference. This is why other people may be riding around. As long as their kite is up in the air, they can ride. And as soon as the kite drops from the sky and sits down on the ground, there is no air movement. So your mission will be to get your kite up in the air by all means. Throw it up, have some assistant, maybe even pump some helium in the leading edge and struts. That is actually one interesting idea. I should probably patent this one. Anyway, how do we get it up? How do we get your kite up in the air if it's sitting kind of dead in the middle of the power zone? We're going to take a look at 2 scenarios. One is when the kite is sitting straight downwind with the leading edge up. And the other one when it's still straight downwind from you, but with the leading edge down. So if this is the surface of the water and the air is moving alongside with the grid over here, this is the direction of the wind, and this is our kite. So first scenario is when the kite is sitting on the surface of the water, straight downwind from you, assuming that you're over here, and it's sitting with the leading edge up. In this position, kite has hard time even taking off, not only because there is not enough wind at the surface of the water over here, but also because of the angle of the canopy. Have a look. You see, the canopy is sitting at this angle, and if the wind is moving in this direction, then the canopy is facing the wind at a pretty aggressive angle over here. Okay, this is not good. Wind has to be strong enough to leverage this angle and to get the kite airborne. If there is not enough wind moving around, we need to make that angle leaner. Take a look at the angle of the canopy when the kite is at the neutral position, when it's flying up right above you. You see, the angle is very much more lean, so the wind is basically like passing by. Okay, if we change the angle like this, kite may even backstall. It may drop down. And this is what's happening when the kite is simply sitting downwind like this. There are several things you may want to do in this scenario. First one, you may want to trim the center line. You want to depower the kite as much as possible. And this could be kind of counterintuitive because intuitively we may think, well, if there is not enough power, we need to power it up. But it's not the case, all right? In this case, this is an extreme case when there is really light wind around the kite. We need to depower the kite. We need to depower it, and the angle in this case, angle of the canopy will change from aggressive over here to more lean. So what do we need to do for this? We need to trim the center line, make it shorter. Also, you need to slide the control bar as far as possible away from yourself. You still may want to hold on to it, but slide it away, depower the kite. Okay, this is not the end of the game yet. Next move, you want to grab these center lines and pull on them. When you do this, kite will take even leaner angle. The canopy of the kite will be sitting at even leaner angle. This will help your kite to take off in the light wind condition. When you are pulling on those center lines, it's a good idea to keep the board out of the way, because when the kite goes airborne, it will pull you forward, and you don't want any obstacles in front of you. You may choose to hold on to the center lines as your kite travels through the power zone, but you have to have really strong grip, and a pair of gloves would be useful to make sure that you don't damage your skin. When you're pulling on the center lines, just use your hand open palm and don't wrap kite lines around your wrist. Not around your wrist, not around your elbow, not around any other body parts, okay? At any point in time, you should be able to release those lines if the kite pulls you. And yeah, be prepared. Kite actually can pull you, and it will pull you hard as soon as canopy gets to the altitude where air is actually moving. Now, I have to say that these conditions, light wind conditions, they require a lot of patience, especially if you're dealing with a sea kite. Sea as a Charlie, sea type of kite. Sea type of kites do not depower as well as bow kites or hybrid kites. Even if you pull hard on the center lines, they just don't respond to the input as well. So you'll be better off with a bow kite or with a hybrid kite, especially in the beginning of your kitesurfing career. Now, let's have a look at the different scenario when the kite is sitting with the leading edge down. This is a rather classical situation, and there may be even more wind, more air moving around, but the kite is still sitting straight downwind from you. So what is the usual scenario, sort of by the book? How do we get it airborne? Well, we need to pull on one side or the other, on either one of these lines. Okay, we're going to pull it aggressively, and in this case, let's say I'm pulling on the red side over here. Then kite's supposed to start moving to this side, slowly but surely, and at some point it will start to rock a little bit, and at some point it will turn on the side, and it will take off. It should take off. But what if there is not enough air and the kite is not moving? You may be pulling on the control lines hard enough, but the kite is still sitting straight downwind without moving to either side. So what's the solution in this case? Well, in this case, you may try to backstall your kite. What you need to do is you need to pull on both lines over here, and you have to pull aggressively. So the canopy of the kite will face the wind at more lean angle. The kite is actually upside down, and it's going to fly backwards. One little step you want to do before actually backstalling the kite, you may want to extend your center line as far as you possibly can. Okay, then you need to find a means to grab these kite lines. Either you can use loops, you can use pulleys, but never wrap your kite lines around your wrists. Be always ready to let go of the kite lines. So when you pull on both steering lines at the same time, symmetrically, simultaneously, what happens is the canopy of the kite will move in this direction, and at some point the angle over here will be lean enough to meet the wind, and the wind will actually get it up in the air. The kite will go airborne. Now, when it's kind of halfway up in the air, it has to be high enough so there will be enough clearance between the kite and the water over here. You let go one of the steering lines. Pick one, okay? In my case, I'm going to let go the green. So if I'm still pulling on the red, kite from this position will start to make a U-turn. It will enter into turn, and this will be happening quickly, so pay attention. So the kite will enter in a U-turn, and as soon as the kite is facing up, facing the neutral position, you need to let go of the red kite line in this case. Okay, so I'm going to let go, and the kite will fly towards neutral position. You may want to get a hold of a control bar at this point, because you'll need to steer the kite to make sure that it actually flies up. And timing in this situation is very critical, because if you let go of the one side, in my case, I'm going to talk about the green one over here. If you let go of the green kite line too soon, the kite is not high enough, then it will hit the water, going through the U-turn. The other common mistake is if you let go of the green kite line over here, and then you're still pulling on the red one, when the kite is entering the turn, people miss the turn sometimes, and kite continues to go into the loop. This is not what you want to be happening to you. Okay, so as soon as kite, let me go back. As soon as the kite is up in the air, high enough, you let go of one side, kite will start to enter into U-turn, and when the leading edge is facing upwards, this is the time to let go of the second steering line. And the kite will fly towards the neutral position. Here is a kite sitting on a leading edge. First thing we need to do to get it airborne, of course, we need to move the board out of the way. And then we're pulling on both outside lines simultaneously. And when the kite gets high enough, we are letting go of one of the back lines. And when it starts facing upwards, we're letting go of the second one. Now let's watch this again in a slow motion. Step 1. We are pulling on both back lines, and the kite starts to fly up, backwards. Step 2. When the kite is high enough, we are letting go of one of the back lines, and the kite starts to make a U-turn. And when the kite starts to look up, we're letting go of the second back line. This is step 3. And right now, kite is backstalling, so our kite surfer is grabbing center lines and pulling on those center lines to actually get it airborne. Okay, my friend, I hope it was useful. I hope you learned something new about kite surfing. Actually, before we go, I have one more thing I wanted to share with you. In general, when you're riding in the light wind conditions, keep your kite higher. I know, personally, I like to ride when my kite is low, either on at like 9 or 10, or 3 or 2 o'clock. But when the wind is getting light, remember the wind gradient? There is more air movement when it gets higher. So keep your kite higher. Not only because there is wind, there is more wind, but also because the kite will be pulling you vertically more if you keep your kite higher on either direction, which means that there will be less pressure on the board. Okay, and you will not drive the board with your body weight down into the water, so it will be easier for you to glide on the surface. Okay? Well, that's all for this video. I'm really glad you found it. I'm really glad you watched this video because it tells me that you are being serious about kite surfing. Keep on watching, keep on educating yourself on kite surfing, keep on learning, and when you feel that you've learned enough, grab your kite surfing instructor and head out there and have fun and be safe. And maybe you'll see me in the next video, and I'll see you on the water.